what happened is that the punk thing became very kind of blown out of all proportion, become a little bit violent. And the sort of decadent scene that sort of arrived after that was kind of the Blitz scene in London, which we were all very much a part of. And it was really that sort of, it was a very creative, very fresh atmosphere.
It's funny because the musical instruments themselves were almost kind of secondary. We used to watch films of the Beatles and go to concerts and say, that's what we want to be pop stars. And then we used to give this a lot of thought and say we want to be pop stars for months and months and years, and then we kind of figured that we ought to learn to play an instrument. It was like a necessary evil to learn to play an instrument.
Why don't you use it? Try not to bruise it.
I think the importance of having a strong image has come about largely through television and MTV, and the fact that there are more and more bands on television.
Ashes to ashes, spark to fire. We know Major Tom's a junkie, stuck out in heaven's high, hitting an on-time road.
Boy George writes in his autobiography that the most important thing in his youth was going to a David Bowie concert. It's really about one generation of rock star really being influenced by another.
When you go, you're gone forever.
Even with punk fashion, everything comes around on itself because, it has to be accessible to normal people, to everybody. So it just comes down and nobody's got any new ideas in fashion.
There's a lot of musicians who are as creative stylistically in terms of their dress and their appearance as they are creatively in musical terms.
I didn't want to be behind Adam Ant when having given him the Bluebeard braids and the whole Apache line and the whole look of savagery that would compete with this awful thing that was translated by the industry after punk rock into new wave, so the old wave could exist with the new wave, and Depeche Mode could sit alongside Mick Jagger and look one of the same thing. And Adam came in as a burst of splendour, great life and wonderful colour, and then he developed into a pantomimic fool. I wasn't around then.
Any success that I've had has been with songs, nothing else. Yet, throughout the whole thing, I just dress conservatively. So it's the one thing that people can say, oh, Robert Palmer, you mean the guy that dresses up in a suit and has mannequins in his videos or whatever.
Billy Idol was famous for spiky hair and leather jackets. He came to me and said, I'm doing this, I just did a cyberpunk album, I'm doing a tour. He wanted me to design my stuff, and I said, okay, I'd love to do it, but you gotta let me do everything. Like, I'm not gonna just make you some clothes. You gotta let me go from your hair to your boots. And he said, yeah, okay, when do we start? So that was great. So then I flew out there with my friend Chris John, who did his hair in blonde dreads. There was no leather, he didn't want any leather. And everything was with Velcro and Velcro kind of spacey boots, and he looked like a little cyberpunk.
Stephen Sprouse is this friend of mine from New York. He's been designing for a long time, as long as I've been making music, but I think he's pretty cool, so.
So I thought it was a brave move for him just to do that, because he totally was risking losing his famous image, and those images sell records. He ended up going back to the more Billy Idol look, but I think the record company didn't understand his new look.
Madonna and Cyndi Lauper were like hand in hand moving along in their careers, and then Cyndi got in a phase where she didn't change. Madonna got skinny and went blonde. She then did the Like a Prayer as a brunette. Like, all these drastic changes happened, and Cyndi kind of stayed in the same path with the wacky kind of wild thing. The interest waned. Madonna kept changing. Madonna kind of won the race.
I always felt that women, in particular performers, are so classified and they're eaten up and spat out in such a kind of predictable sexual way. I mean, I have no, there's no problem with that if you want to be very sort of, rifty-tifty, But for me, that was never going to be the way. And in some way, I wanted to represent myself, to find my own true nature. And I change, we all change, everybody changes, you change your hairstyle, I just do it publicly sometimes, that's all, it's no big deal.
Who's that girl? There were, in the early part of my career, times when I wasn't happy about how I looked necessarily. You get embarrassed when you see that old stuff, but then you say, God, look how far I've come. But that was then, and people can't understand that is how the styles were then. It's almost like our parents when they show us a picture and you go, God, look what you were wearing. That was a style then. I was looking great.
I think most people, when they think of Tina Turner, they think of this dress.
Now, how do you like yourself if you don't like your hair color, your hair cut, your skin? You got to get into your diet. You got to make yourself beautiful.